I mean, it's the morning. Anyone who's up is going to be up. How we doing? How are people feeling? Just gonna close that. Close that. No, I don't want that. La 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 la. I am saying words for the purposes of sound checking. That we did do a sound check a while back, and it was fine. But okay. Um. Oh yeah, I don't need. Oh yeah. Okay, I can do it this way around. Sorry, I'm just still getting used to the Discord stage thing. I want share screen. Also share it. Like, oh wait, no, that's right. I can't do the audio. I can do 1080p. Boop. All right, there we go. We've got our title slide up. I'm gonna be doing this without a webcam because you really don't need to see me in my pajamas before a shower. I mean, if I'm PJ Khan, I mean, if I'm loud as a sonic boom, then you really should be slightly concerned. No, I don't need this. Okay. Oh god, I miss having a second monitor. All right, I'm gonna hang around for another 7 minutes until the scheduled start time, so people can get refreshments if they feel the needs. I don't know how many people have been hanging around for, you know, all day or what have you. Oh yeah, I will be taking questions. If I'm in flow, I might not get to them right away, but I will try to answer questions as they appear. Trying not to get distracted with my own Discord. I'd say a click-through feature on the screen share would be handy, but that's one animation was um hmm I think it would probably be aspect. I know it's one of the ones that has been it's not one of the like the most popular ones, but it's like approaching the peak of like it was kind of like a breakthrough in terms of like technical um stuff of like getting the most out of Flash. Um the the like the full length the Wenches and Mead one from the following year is probably like on like a similar level. Um like I had a footnote um in the credits of that was along the lines of oh wait no it wasn't in the credits it might have been in the credits. It was the credits or the comments somewhere. But that was around the time that I was like, for those unaware, um, I had like a tradition where every 2 years I would reanimate the same clip of just it was just one of my characters just swinging from a flagon and lip syncing to a metal song, and it was supposed to like show my progress as I was getting better over time, and it was around like 2021 that I realized that like this exercise had kind of exhausted its value, um, at least in terms of like showing progress, because it had reached the point where how much how good something looked was more a function of how much time I was willing to put into it rather than just straight up learning things over time. Um, so that's why I did like the full length one. Is like, okay, I'm gonna do. It's been 10 years. Um, Send it off with a bang. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's roughly at the point where I mean, obviously that doesn't mean I have like completely mastered animation. Far from it. Um, just the uh, you know, I can you know in order to get better results, I need to spend more time on it than I am able to in my situation, basically. Um, that was a bit of a ramble. you know, Filled up a good bit of the time until the scheduled start time. Um, if you have if you have memories of a teacher who was like easily distracted and would go on like tangents about whatever instead of teaching you about like Roman history or whatever they were supposed to be doing. It's like that's probably going to be me. um, I do have stuff I want to get through, and it is also stories. And there's a I think it has happened before that somebody's asked a question, and it would be tangent time. However, that actually came up later in the the presentation. So uh, also, um, for those of you who are frequent convention goers, this is not the first time I have made this or presented this particular panel presentation. Uh, I have brought it to the most recent HarmonyCon. I did it remotely at Vancouver, and I think the first version of it was at Galacon 2022. So if you were any of those cons and you saw me do a thing, it's substantively the same, but like those were in-person cons. So if you are only able to make it to online cons, you will not have seen this before. Okay, we have hit the starting time. I'm gonna wait until the typing is finishing. Oh, actually, I realized right about the starting time, I should refill my water. Give me just 30 seconds. Things I should have been doing in the changeover time, but like if I don't have water, I will just die. So There we go. Okay. Yep. Hydrate or dihydrate. Okay. So, animation horror stories. Hope you enjoy my mangling of the convention mascots. Um, so first things first. Who am I? Why the hell should you listen to anything I have to say? So I'm Captain Horse. You may remember me from such horse animations as Spitfire's Day Off. This is probably the most well-known thing that I have done. I regret to inform you that it is now 10 years old. It has been a while. Um, if that's your favorite animation, great. However, I have done a lot of things since then. Um, I invite you to check them out. Um, Animation is not. Hang on. I've also had some experience in the in as an animator in studios. Um, this is a screenshot from my IMDb page, which I have now. Um, I should clarify that I have not worked on the Cartoon Horse program. I did not work on Friendship is Magic. I did not work on G5, even though a lot of it was made in my country, which Ireland. Um, so just getting that out of the way. Uh, Animation is also not the only thing I do. In fact, it's a very minor thing, minor part of what I do these days. I spend a lot of time working on my comics, which are Ask blogs turned comics. Um, and I also do some like tabletop stuff on the side because that's the stuff is kind of that kind of stuff is fun to me. You While I'm here, you can purchase. You can't get the Stardust comic yet; that's not printed yet. But you can purchase things in the con store, not the con store, in my vendor channel. You can. I have. I'm in the vendor channel. You can get my stuff. Go check it out uh, after the panel. Anyway, what is this? So, um, animation is so animation is it's a very complex process, and a lot of things can go wrong. Um, Now, I could just sit here and like vent about my frustrations for an hour. However, we're going to try and make this a learning experience. We're going to group it into some four sections, which is going to have a little story. One of them is going to turn into just kind of like some rambling frustrations, but we'll get there. And we're going to learn something from um, from each of these from each of these stories. So, without further screwing around, um, section one, and now for a word from our sponsor, Backblaze. Clarification: I am not sponsored by Backblaze. I just really like the Surface. It's also like $11 a month now. Um, if you know what Backblaze does, you will see where this is going. So, story time. So, I have worked on convention animations for Galacon in the past. This is a screenshot from the 2022 animation. Uh, Now, I think if you are paying attention, you may remember that 2022, the 2022 editions of many conventions began as 2020 editions of those conventions, which then got postponed to the following year, and then postponed again because of, you know, the the COVID-19 pandemic, that thing. Um, Now, as the animator for um, the promotional animation, uh, this was luxury. This was like, oh, I have all the time in the world to work on this thing because I had started work on it in like late 2019. I had uh, done the animatic. I'd worked out the script. Um, I'd done like a couple of little bits and pieces of work with the intention of doing more of it a little later on when I had some more time. And then everything closed in March, and it was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I can put this off. I can do other things in the meantime. Now, unfortunately, hmm, so hard drives, as all things tend to do over time, they break. And I should know this quite well because this has actually happened to me twice before. Um, in 2014, I was working on a convention animation for Buck, the British convention that ran 2013, 2014, 2016, and uh, I fortunately um, I was able to recover the animation from that. I had to finish it on an old laptop running Windows Vista, but I got it done. Um, in 2020, it was just a boot drive. There was nothing lost. It was inconvenient, but it wasn't a huge deal. However, this time around, um, there's a principle in data management called the 3-2-1 rule. The idea is that you have three copies of your files on two types of storage media, one offsite. That covers all of your bases in terms of redundancy. Uh, you know, two you know the local copy, an external hard drive, and a cloud backup. That satisfies this requirement. So like if your house burns down, you've still got the cloud copy, that kind of thing. If the cloud goes down, you still have your external copy. Yeah, that's good. I was not following this rule in 2022 when the my external hard drive that had the only copy of the Galacon 2022 animation decided after I came back from BabsCon that year that it didn't want to work. Here is the screenshot from the Discord channel uh, upon my return, intending to start work uh, on discovering this mess that I had found myself in. And yeah, there wasn't really a neat and easy way out of it. It was we tried for a bit to try and recover the hard drive, and as the easy solutions ran out, the only things available were like more expensive solutions and, well, more importantly, more time consuming solutions because this was still like 3 months before the convention. So I just had to knuckle down and redo all my lost work from scratch. Um, so yeah, dear Princess Celestia, Backblaze subscription is only $11 a month. I need to update this. Seriously, that really isn't that much. It literally backs up your entire computer and external drives. You can even download files you forgot when you're traveling. I use that feature to make this presentation. I can't believe I wasn't doing this already. So that was lesson one. So lesson two: all software is garbage. So I have used a number of different uh, types of animation software in my time. Um, some more so than others, and all of them are just held together with duct tape and dreams. And this is sand we have tricked into thinking. It is doing. We are doing things with computers that nature never intended us to do. So it is not particularly surprising that it finds ways to break all the goddamn time. So I'm just gonna like go through my experiences with a bunch of different software. Flash, I really like Flash. I use Flash to make this presentation. I use Flash to make most of my animations. It's garbage, but it's my garbage. Flash, currently known as Adobe Animate, because Adobe being weird. Also, before I continue, screw Adobe. I have a perpetual license on my software, and they can pry it out of my cold, dead hands. Do not get the subscription; it's not worth it. Um, so Flash does this thing where, or at least it did. I don't know if it still does, because I mentioned the perpetual license. Adobe hasn't issued perpetual licenses since about 2012. So the version of the software that I use, when it crashes, it will dump a crash log to the desktop. Um, and this is a 13-year-old piece of software that Adobe likes to pretend doesn't exist anymore. They're not interested in the crash log here. They're never going to fix the bugs in 13-year-old software. So these files are just collecting on my desktop, gathering dust. So just to amuse myself, what I've started doing is renaming the dump files to whatever I happened to be doing at the time of the crash. So my desktop is now filled with just these little files that say things like selecting, making a blank frame, starting up. It's like the list of things women in literature have died from. Uh, um, so I'm gonna have a little bit of a tour of all of the just weird little things that Flash just does because it's a janky piece of software from the 90s. Um, Sometimes the color field will just decide to disappear. Like anytime you interact with it, you break the outline with a line or something. It's just like, well, I'm done, and it's gone. And sometimes you can like trick the lines into being in almost the same shape and surviving, but sometimes it just kind of they just vanish. You'll like paste your thing, and it's just gone, and you just have to deal with it. You just have to draw it again. Draw it again, forehead. Um, the another thing that the Flash will do. So I like Flash not just as like an animation software, but I do it for like vector illustration as well. So I use it instead of Illustrator. I've never figured out how to properly use Illustrator. Uh, However, Flash was definitely not designed for this. Illustrator is designed for like graphic design for print and things like that. Flash is not, and you can tell this because Flash, when you try to export an image from it above a certain size, um, that size being 4,000 pixels in along any side, it will which 4,000 pixels is just short of an A2 poster if you are international, and if you're in the US, A2 is like it's like a decently sized wall poster, that kind of thing. If you try to export an image larger than that, you will get a file of the dimensions you specified. Flash just stops printing it at the 4,000 pixels mark. It it just kind of like runs out of ink or something, and you just get like white for the rest of the image. I don't know why it does this. It just gives up. Um, I think I had an even weirder case where I oh yeah, I don't have slides for this because I'm only just remembering this now. Um, because another thing I use Flash illustration for is making maps for TTRPGs because I can like iterate things quickly. And I was making like a very big map, and it was like just over the 4,000 pixel line. It doesn't just truncate the export; it very slightly squishes it, and this is something I didn't notice until I was using it for maps which are like aligned to a grid, and I noticed it was like very slightly off. It's maddening. I don't know why it does this. Um, oh, also a brand new bug, a brand new Flash bug for you guys that I only just discovered like 4 days ago. Actually, no, a week ago. Um, so uh, this one takes a little bit of explaining, but it is in the realm of just weirdly specific things that you really only care about if you do this all the time and you just see the really tiny things. So, um, Flash does this neat little thing, as many vector softwares do, where if you have two lines and they join, they have a little join and it looks neat and tidy. Um, but it doesn't. It breaks this join if you uh have like one part of it selected, but just it's it's just a thing. Like it doesn't do it in real time. It just it's it doesn't matter. The weird thing here isn't that the effects aren't fully applied while you're working. The weird thing is that it actually exported the the broken the broken joint when when I had it selected. Like it recorded the selection state of the frame in the export, which raises all kinds of questions that are incredibly specific, and I have no idea if this is interesting at all to a lay audience. I sorry, I'm just constantly yeah. The takeaway from this is that I am constantly discovering new and inventive ways that Flash just likes to torment me. Um, and also, I forgot to. You can see where I updated this slide and didn't get rid of the thing properly. Yeah, I imagine that whenever I'm doing animation stuff for like a convention, it's like this. It's like you remember this episode where uh Applejack has this big long laundry list of chores that are just completely ridiculous and make no sense because each one is a you know each one is a fix for a problem caused by the previous one, and it's just built up this kind of list of clutter. That's kind of what working with Flash is like, and there's no way to shortcut it. And I like to imagine that whenever I'm doing this, like the poor old um, convention staff that I'm in contact with are just like looking at me doing this, like what is happening? So Moho, formerly known as Animation Studio, is also it is also software I like. It is also the kind of garbage. um, I used Moho in the studio, so I don't have it on my own machine. I really liked it when I was using it in the studio, but I haven't used it for a few years. Um, so in a on like a studio production, characters that recur throughout a series, they will appear in multiple different costumes. That's quite normal. You know, people have multiple costumes. Um, and the way that the rigs were set up to why am I looking at the corner here? I should be looking at the microphone. The way that um the way that the animation rigs were set up is that they had all of the costumes on at the same time, and you just hid the ones that you weren't using. Um, but while they were hidden, the computer still had to like think about them. They were still in memory, which made them quite heavy and slowed. It made the software quite slow to have all of these on. So uh, the we did have like a scripter on staff who made like little utilities for us to use. One of them being a script that would go through all of you'd run it and it would delete all the layers that weren't being used in the animation, which is useful for getting rid of these costumes. It was a lifesaver. um, so this interacted with a another weird quirk of of studio animation. So uh, TV networks are real sticklers for seatbelts. Uh, Seatbelts, it's a what's that one that Alex Hirsch was always falling afoul of, like standards and practices. I think it is. It's a standards and practices thing. The network will freak out if the anyone gets into a car on a children's show and they're not wearing a seatbelt. The car can be completely ridiculous. I remember animating a scene where the car was like a hollowed out pumpkin being driven by a mouse on Cartoon Logic, where he just like stuck four wheels into the pumpkin and was driving it around. And not only that, he was using it to catch like ghosts that were just kind of like blankets in the air, and he was like pulled into the air by these blanket ghosts. And then the pumpkin like fell and smashed into a million pieces. But because he was wearing his seatbelt, it was fine. Every other part of that, like, who cares? You know, um, like they're real sticklers about like road safety. Um, so you have to animate the seatbelt, and the way that you have to do it in Moho is uh, you need to have the parts of the rig that go over the seatbelt. They have to be like separated out um, because they need to go over the seatbelt. Which, if you'll remember, that because the um, because hidden layers are still there, the computer needs to still think about them. It is the same as if you just had two whole characters there. Um, and this is also true for like getting in and out of vehicles in the first place. You need to have two copies of the rig because one of them is parented to the vehicle, and when the vehicle starts, they will move with it instead. Yeah. So, to my recollection, because what the script would do when it finished running, it would tell you how many layers it deleted, and to my recollection, I had the record for the most number of layers deleted in a scene on that particular production. Um, the scenes. So I was in like the cleanup team basically. So we would sometimes animate scenes from scratch, but usually we would get scenes that someone had like done most of the animation on, and they would arrive at our desk to do like technical fixes, additional animation, and it was cleaning them up. Um, so the stuff like technical stuff like this would be our job, and the animation floor downstairs, their job is it's just to make it look nice, which means that sometimes they handed us files where they hadn't run this script on them at all. I don't know how their computer survived, for reasons we will see in a second, but this is how monster files like this ended up on my desk. So I had a scene with you had six characters. They were all getting into a car. So you had the copies of them on the sidewalk. You had the copies of them in the car. Uh, their seatbelts. The copies of the rig with the parts that go over the seatbelts, and then like the front part of the car, and also all of their costumes on all 18 rigs. Um, so uh, I ran this script, um, and it took a while. It was normal for it to like take a couple of minutes, but I put it on. Um, I wait a couple of minutes. I look at my phone. I kind of screw around for a little bit. It's still going. So I was like, okay, the break room is across the hall. I'll just go and like make a cup of coffee. And I go and make the cup of coffee, and I come back and it's still going. I was like, there's a couch in there. I'm gonna lie down for a bit. And I come back like half an hour later to find that the script had deleted 144,000 layers. Like I said, I don't know how the other guy's computer didn't melt. Um, so um, most professional animators turn off autosave. This may be this if you use art software even casually, this may cause you pain. But there is good reasons for this. I don't have any other slides for this. It's just because I have to explain like noodly network things. So um, in a studio, a lot of the files are kept on like a central server, and you have like a client computer that just kind of grabs them from the server and saves them back to it. Which means that you kind of if you don't want file conflicts to happen. You don't want two people to be working on the same file at the same time and saving over each other's work. So that's like the main reason that this happens. Uh, There is another Moho specific reason though, which is the autosave in Moho. So in Flash you can adjust like how frequent the autosave is. It's 10 minutes by default. Uh, I what I tend to do is like as I work on a file and it gets heavier and heavier, I increase the autosave time because it takes longer to save, and I want that to happen less often. But it's usually like 30 minutes. In Moho, the autosave is every 60 seconds. It happens in the background, and you can't adjust this. Um, so it is you either have autosave in the background every 60 seconds, or you just don't have autosave. And this becomes a problem when you get files that are heavy enough that they take longer than 60 seconds to save, which means that your software is just stuck in a continuous loop of saving. And it's just completely just chugged up and you can't use it. So you just have to turn the autosave off and live dangerously. Um, Before we depart Moho, I do have one more thing to share. So I, for legal reasons, cannot share the actual clip of this because it's an internal file. It's presumably under some kind of NDA. I don't want to risk it. Um, but I can recreate what I saw. So it is normal on an animation production for like as you go on, you build up stuff you can reuse. Most often walk cycles because a walk cycle, getting it right, it takes a lot of time, and so it's useful to have one just like on hand that you can drop in because it's a really common thing that people need to do, and it takes a lot of work. It just saves a lot of time to have a walk cycle ready to go. Which also it also helps for like background characters. They will frequently have like very similar skeletons, so you can just drop the same animation in to like all these different background characters and save a lot of time on characters that you really don't want to spend a lot of time animating individually. Um, so as I was, so we were working on a Christmas special, which due to the lead time in productions, we were working on the Christmas special in June, which is just its own kind of just uncanny madness. Uh, but there was a bit of a problem with the preloaded animation for this one background character, and uh, this is probably funnier to me because we were losing our minds at the time, but the animation was for the wrong character. The stock animation, it was for the wrong type of rig. It was for a character that was much shorter. So we dropped the animation in, and it kind of goes from instead of giving us a normal walk animation, it gives us something like this. um, it is what it is. I mean, I mean, it's animation gore. It happens all the time. It just the comic timing on this one was pretty funny. Um, Oop, no, I don't want that. There we go. I don't know. Oop, there we go. Okay. Uh, I hate Toon Boom Harmony. It is the most common software used in animation, and I don't get along with it. Yeah, I don't really have. I mean, I can go over some reasons why I hate it, but like I just don't like using it. Um, so this is a bug that it goes back to 2012 or 2009. I can't remember. I saw a forum post talking about it really, all the way back then, and it was still the case in 2020 when I last used Toon Boom, and at that time I saw no indication that it was going to be fixed. So a little technical explanation. Technical explanation. There is a feature of animation called inverse kinematics, which is basically you put a point on on the canvas, and you assign a couple of bones, and the computer figures out how to get those bones from point A to point B. Um, this is really useful for, as I mentioned, things like walk cycles, where you the having the foot stay in the same place relative to the rest of the body is really useful. Um, this is as opposed to forward kinematics, where the position of the arm is just the sum of the angles of all the bones along the length. I don't know why I'm mimicking this gesture with my actual arm that you can't see. I've got a slide explaining it. Um, so this is normal for, like, if you're just having a character waving, you would use forward kinematics, that kind of thing. Unrelated to this, there is a neat little feature in many types of animation software. Flash calls it shape tweening. In Toon Boom, it is I think it's called deformation, which is just being able to animate how a line bends. It's quite it's that's it. That's the entire feature, but it's really useful for making animation look nicer, where having like faces squish and having bodies turn convincingly when you're working with like a rig. And like this is how a lot of this is one of the things that gives TV animation in the 2010s its look. Things like Adventure Time and Steven Universe and Gravity Falls and things like that. It's because they're all made in the same software. They can do things like have the bodies squish in a way that, like, you don't see as much of in, for example, Friendship is Magic, because that's made in Flash. I mean, you kind of see it in like Tell Your Tale. That's also made in Toon Boom. I mean, I don't know for a fact that it's made in Toon Boom, but I would be really surprised if it wasn't. You kind of got the ponies that they squish. Um, the problem with the problem here is that you can use inverse kinematics or deformation, but you cannot use both at the same time in the same file. They will break, and I think deformation is the only one that gets used. And the solution, when presented with the choice of um, either making the rigs easier to work with or making them look better, is the studios tend to, they want deformation, they want the product to look better. And as for, like, well, how am I supposed to do a walk cycle with forward kinematics? Deal with it. It's your problem, forehead. So yeah, anytime that I've used Toon Boom in a studio, I've had to animate walk cycles with forward kinematics, which I hope I've done an adequate job of explaining why that is uh, just terror. Blender. So I have not been using Blender for long enough to really form like a solid opinion about whether I love it or I hate it. Um, I will say in its favor, a lot of the time, animation software can be kind of capricious, and you don't really understand, like, why it's screwing up. Um, with Blender, I feel a lot less of that. When something goes wrong in Blender, I generally feel like it's because I don't understand the software, not that the software is being obtuse. Um, so I don't have a number of, like, I don't have a whole lot of specific stories about the Blender bugs. However, I do have a video which I can put on and just like have a smoke break at the back of the class while I stick a video on for you guys. It's only a minute and a half long. I did have music on it originally, but I I cannot. The music is licensed, and because of Twitch, there will be no sound. Um, I just need to change stream. I have a DM. I can look at that DM later. Uh, change stream. Uh, there we go. Okay. Uh, so here, enjoy a little video. I'll post the link to this uh, afterwards, so you can hear it with the jaunty music. Some of it isn't bugs. Some of it is just me screwing around. Yeah, this is me just setting up inverse kinematics for the first time. All right, this is well, without the audio, that's completely complete. Oh, I was gonna. Okay, yeah, without the audio, that's just kind of pointless because it's just there we go. Okay, I have posted the link in the chat. There you go, so you can watch that anytime. That's outtakes from big 3D animation that I did last year. Oh, change stream. Oh wait, no, I don't want to. Hang on. You can get like a brief window into my YouTube viewing habits there. Okay, so that was Blender. That was software. Uh, let's take a bit of a lesson from all of this. Dear Princess Celestia, skill doesn't come from good tools. It comes from knowing how to use them, which is good because there's no such thing as a good animation tool. All right, so this one is a little bit more on how are we doing on time? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna pick it up a little bit, but we're okay on time. So this is more of a loose. This is more about the psychological side of animation. So if yeah, here's a meme that definitely did the rounds in the studio. Um, Animation is so there is a bit of a class system. How did he get here? There's a bit of a class system in animation, where when you look at a lot of the behind the scenes stuff here, you get you know you get a lot of focus on people who have very impactful roles. So people like character designers and voice actors, they're the ones that tend to get like the guest of honor spots at like conventions and things like that, and they get interviewed in behind the scenes things. I think the official behind the scenes uh, you know documentary for Friendship is Magic, I think it only talks to voice actors, and like th- that's not like they still they do great work, obviously, those people are needed. However, for every one of them there's like 10 just regular animators just sweating away in some darkened room in front of two monitors for 8, 10. I've heard horror stories of 14 hours a day, um, just kind of in anonymity, basically. I should clarify on the 14-hour thing. I've never had to work a 14-hour shift in the studio. Um, in fact, my experience in the studios has been one of the nicer ones. So most of the worst things has been things that I've heard from colleagues who have worked elsewhere. The 14 hours thing is from a time that uh, someone came over from a partner studio in Canada to like orient us on a production that we were starting, and I can't remember how it came up, but he mentioned that in some studios in Canada, they pay people by the frame, which means that if your scenes aren't getting approved, you're not getting paid. Um, and also, it just kind of creates this perverse incentive to just work more to get paid more, and that's how people end up working 14-hour days. Um, so yeah, it's I I can't remember I cannot remember why I did this slide. It's true, but I can't remember why I put it here. Um, and like animation is psychologically grueling work. It's you're spending all day working on like very similar images, and you can be like slaving away over your hot computer stove, um, getting this thing to look just right, and at the end of the day, you've been working for 9 hours, and you have achieved zero point 0.8 seconds of animation all day, and that is it is a kick in the gut to realize how slow your progress is going. Um, and uh, I I forgot what that illustration was for. I don't have notes. Um, the Yeah. So the feedback that you can get is it can also be quite limited. Um, because uh, you're working on as part of a huge team, your individual impact on the creative work is it can be quite limited. Um, you know, as often as not, the the storyboard that you get is a diktat that you have to follow exactly, and like there's reasons for it that if everyone is trying to do their own thing, the thing will not come together in a cohesive whole. um but it makes it kind of like factory work. um and this you kind of it loosens your attachment to the thing that you're working on. And also a large part of the audience for studio animation is like under 5 years old. That's a large part of the market, um, and especially if you're like a beginner animator. To quote the same guy who came in from a co-production studio, we're not trying to blow the 3-year-olds' minds here. So if you're just starting your career, you're going to have to spend a while working on stuff that you kind of don't care about, um, before they let you anywhere near anything interesting. And 3-year-olds don't really post reviews. They don't tell you good job. In fact, the what can happen, especially if the place is busy, is or the schedule is tight, is that the only indication that you did good work on a scene is that it disappears from your to-do list without any notes. And it that could be kind of crushing. It is you have to have a degree of mental fortitude to stay the course. And I do see people flaming out a lot. um they I without getting like too down. One way to see how stable a profession is to take a look at the average age in the room. And like my brother works for the government. He does like a government administration job, and like he is frequently the youngest person in the room because everyone there has like stable jobs for life. They've been working there for decades. When I was in the studio, um, I would struggle to see anyone over 40, and that's kind of bad, especially considering that, like I said, I was at one of the nicer studios, and we still had a room that we called the sweat box because the ventilation was so poor in the summer. Um, so, with all of these hardships, all of these ordeals, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing this? Because for most people, it will not make you rich, and it will not make you famous. For every Alex Hirsch and Lauren Faust, there's dozens and dozens of people who are just doing a job and getting paid less than a bus driver for it. Um, and even then, like being being a genius like showrunner animator is like that's also pretty low on the ranking of like celebrities. You're not exactly a massive movie star. Um, oh, that's the slide that I thought was there um, 2 slides ago. But yeah, if you're trying to get rich or if you're trying to get rich or famous and you're doing things that you don't care about to do it, you will just burn yourself out in animation because it's just too hard work. So if you think you want to get into animation, don't. No, um, real lesson. Dear Princess Celestia, if you want to animate, you have to do it for the love of animation. You will not stick to it if you're in it for the money, fame, or even for creative expression. Because creative, you know, there are more time efficient ways to express yourself creatively than animation. Um, okay, all right. I'm gonna have to whip through this last one a little bit because we've got about 15 minutes. I've somehow taken a little bit longer than I normally do on this. How not to produce an animation. So, the following story is entirely fictional. Any resemblance to real persons or events is entirely coincidental. The scenario is described to illustrate common organization performance inherent to collaborative work, not to slander anyone. Now that my ass is covered, I'm going to tell you a story about a made up convention that gave me a call in the year 2016. Um, we're going to put it in Ireland because there's no way a horse convention would ever work in Ireland because everyone would have to fly there. Anyway, um, so this non-existent convention, they call me up and they say, "Hey, would you like to do an animation for us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, okay." I'm young and impressionable. I don't have anything better to do. Um, and they say, "Oh, well, we'll give you a team." And then I'm like, "Are you sure about that? Do you really want to give me a team? I don't know if that's a great idea because I'm an artist. I don't know how to run a team." So they plot me in front of this team and promptly just vanish and leave me to my own devices. Um, this cast of characters, we will call them Tom, Dick, and Harry. Um, these are composite characters. They are archetypes. They are representative of general tendencies. Uh, Tom has highly developed opinions about the convention mascot. He has kind of adopted the mascot as his OC. He's really proud of his creative work in for the previous runnings of the convention, and just to put my money where my mouth is, and just to really sell that like I'm not out to bash anyone. I am kind of a Tom. This is the kind of you know this is of the various kinds of misbehavior I'm about to regale. This is the one I am prone towards. So Dick, uh, he tries. He's in art school. He's got a lot of sketches. He's really into the art lifestyle. Has trouble finishing things. He's enthusiastic. And the hope is that he will get there. Harry is so not appearing in this film. Harry will occasionally be seen uh, like we'll see like the status on his Skype scores uh, saying like playing World of Tanks or like League of Legends or something like that, and like that is most of what Harry is somewhere, but he's really only on the team in name only. So I come to uh, I come to Tom with my it's like, hey, so this is my idea for the how we're gonna do the convention aesthetics this year, and he's like, no, excuse me, I we have a creative direction already. Um, the convention nominally has my corner, because they brought me on in part because of the my creative vision, but they're just kind of like leaving me to it, so I have to deal with Tom by myself. Um, there are rigs from previous convention animations that might be useful, and it's like, oh, okay, that might save us some time working on them. It's like, who has the rigs? Harry. Um, so uh, Dick steps in, is like, "Oh, yeah, that's okay. I'll make new ones. You're leave it to me. I'll have them for you, and you can start working on the animation." Several months pass, um, and well, let's see how this convention has progressed behind the scenes. So, me and Tom are still fighting every day in the chat about creative decisions. Um, Dick has made half of one rig and it doesn't really work. Harry has somehow dug himself out of his Dota game and is has brought us the most broken rigs that anyone has ever seen. It, when on one particular mouth shape, it just crashes the software. They it just impossible to work with. Um, and then the convention, in their infinite wisdom, remember, like, oh, hey, we need to make merch as well. So we're kind of we're taking your team because we need artists. Good luck. And then they leave me alone with the animation. Uh, you know, 2 months from the con, no no team, no preparation work, barely a hold on what anything is supposed to look like. And at this point, I have a couple of options. I can talk to the convention, try and manage their expectations. It's like, hey, uh, how am I supposed to work like this? B, uh, recruit my own team, instead of being having strangers foisted upon me. I could rope in my own friends who I know and can work with, or C, uh, work nights and weekends to make the animation on time, despite the unrealistic deadline. And no prizes for guessing which one I did. uh, so this did not have to happen. And to show you how it did not have to happen, we're going to run this scenario back with an additional character. I will introduce you to Steve. Steve is a production assistant. He does no animation work. He does not touch. Uh, he does not touch a pen at any point. His job is to make sure other people are doing their jobs, and generally be helpful. So what Steve can do for us is intervene in intra-team disputes about creative direction, just to you know put a stop to things before they get out of control. You know, maintain some order that way. Um, he can keep everyone else on task. Remind people that they need to do things that they may have otherwise forgotten. It keeps the schedule, keeps people in, keeps up with people in regular meetings, and he can also hold on to assets that may be useful from production to production. So we're not necessarily counting on people who are potentially unreliable to hold on to things. Um, but Steve is also, like, he's part of the animation team, not necessarily part of the con. So he can defend the animation team from unreasonable requests by the convention that would, compromise our job. He can represent us when what we need to concentrate on is working. Um, so, moral of the story, dear Princess Celestia, get yourself a Steve. Um, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening to me ramble for a very long time. Here is the bounciness and micro. as a reward, um, we don't have a ton of time, but we have a few minutes for questions and answers if anyone feels like throwing some of those my way. Do, 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 do. Just scrolling up, seeing if there's any I missed during the thing. Hmm. Ba, 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 ba. Um, what is my dream project? Oh god, that's a tough one. Um, what is my dream project? I would be I yeah. That's really stumping me. Ah, um, I don't know. I'm in a bit of a weird situation where like I because I have because I've been doing I've basically been doing pony art full time for about 5 years now. Um, if I want to do something, I can generally just do it. So it's I, the cop out answer would be kind of like I would like to have the time to do everything that I want to do. um, I mean, yeah, it was just the fantasy of having more time. I, I've done a lot of like music videos. That's a very common animation thing that I do. Um, because it's like a bite you tell a story in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Um, so I don't know. There's animations that I've like you know doing one of those for like some of my favorite songs would probably be neat. And like being able to do it, um, do like a really long one, like the like a song that I had thought of for doing like a big long animation is Pendulum's The Tempest, which is like a 7 minute long song. Um, but the problem then is like filling it. So yeah, I really don't know what I do for a dream project. I just want more time to do anything. Um, Posting my stuff. I was not prepared for this. Um, I'm gonna post my link tree that has links to like all of my comics and my animations and all of my other stuff. Um, what I'm also gonna do is post a link to my vendor channel. Copy link. There we go. Um, so uh, if you like my stuff and you want to financially support me, um, there's a place to start. Buy things. I'm selling like prints of my comics, and I've got like badges and postcards and stuff on the side. Um, I will also do, 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 also post my Patreon, where if you just want to, if you don't want like physical things and you just want to like support me, that's this. Oh boy, that image is old. Um, I do have a Discord for patrons if community is what you're after. Um, and you get that from like $1. So it's cheap. It's just it's just keeping out the trolls with like a $1 entry fee. Um, so yeah, that is me and my stuff.
You're good. You're good. You're good. Not. You, don't worry about overrunning a little bit. The next panel's not for half an hour, so you.
Oh, okay, so we can take
You
it
got
in.
you got a bit of time. It's not the end of the world.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
Uh,
letting you know. So if you want to carry on with a few more question and answers, it's up to you. If you want to head off, it's up to you. I'm not going to force you either way.
Okay. Well, I did just
You
get
know,
a new question there, so I'll keep going with Q&A as long as there are Q's to A. Um, so, are there any new expansions or new board or card games in the plans? I have actually been picking at a second expansion for Stardust. Um, the working title is "We Have a Problem." um, I as far as like the mechanical design of that it goes, it's like I think it's like most of the way along. Um, got like a couple new characters who would be familiar faces if you've been reading the comic, um, and there's I mean the number one thing people tell me about Stardust is the it's like it's a cool game, but like it could be harder. So I'm like, okay, you want harder? I'm gonna give you harder. So that's gonna be like the main thing of it. It's like modules that oh, I suppose it's modulating the difficulty because another thing about Stardust is that like even though usually it's like it's manageable, is that sometimes you can get degenerate cases where the game Stardust is a board game that I make, and also later I made a comic in that world. If you go up to there's a link to the game, and also if you scroll up I've got my link tree there, and that gives you links to all of the stuff. The yeah. So yeah, the sometimes in when you're setting up starters, you can get like degenerate cases where the game just becomes anomalously difficult, more difficult than it should be. So that's another thing I'm intending to deal with the new expansion, which is lifelines. So if you are, it's just kind of smoothing out the difficulty curve to put it like where you actually want it to be. So there's like extra challenge if the game is too easy, and like there's things to bail you out if the game has just given you a difficulty snarl. But also that's cool. And being asked about the board games at the convention. That's neat. I'm happy about that.
good. Are your board games on tabletop at all in any way, shape, or form? It's a German question.
There, yes, they are on. That there are tabletop sim mods for both Stardust and Thunderdrome. They are if you, I think they're linked in the Game Crafter page. If I pull up my workshop,
As long as you support that and all that, and people support the games, it's always a good way to. If you're not sure if you're ever unsure about playing board games like that, and maybe we may do as a panel at some point, just play actual fan made board games like Stardust and the stuff like that. I think getting more board games into cons would be a fun idea. That'll be a future con
yeah,
plan.
there you go. The there should be there's the workshop links for like the two my two main games. I actually at HarmonyCon this year I did just stumble into somebody else's copy of Thunderdrome in the wild. So that was cool to see. Thunderdrome is a racing game with if you old heads might remember my Face the Future animation from 11 years ago. And I Thunderdrome is like it's the game of that. It's the racing horses. Um, but yeah, I just ran into a copy of it in the wild, and it's somebody else's, and that's cool. That's yeah. Suddenly, suddenly board game panel. I would be psyched to do like a panel about like tabletop stuff. I just I don't know. I'm always afraid that like uh people are gonna be like, what? you know.
I
So like
think people would be. I think a demonstration of your board games would always be a fun panel because you, especially if it's like food, um, through tabletop or something like that. If you're good with tabletop, having a live demonstration always helps people learn the game a bit better. I think similar
Mm.
to like how shut up and sit down does it.
Oh
You know,
yeah, oh yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I've got a one thing I'm doing at BabsCon next. Oh God, is it? It's in 2 weeks. Yeah, something like that. I am hosting a couple of one shots of Night Haze, which is the role playing game that I've worked on. Um, and I'll probably be bringing my horse games as well, just to have around. But like, yeah, it turns out board games are fun, you know,
who would have known? Who would
and
have
adding
known?
horses to them makes them more better.
Horse, 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 horse noises. Any more questions, or are we gonna let Captain Horse run away to do horse things?
I mean, I have seen a lot of variants of Love Letter hanging around. Um,
Ooh,
something I something I had made and then it just kind of disappeared into my boxes somewhere and then I forgot about is there's a social deduction game called Crossfire that it's some like generic sci-fi looking thing, but I made a full Equestria version of that, um, and it wasn't like proper printing. It was like I basically got it printed from a place that does like business cards. um, so it's the production quality is a little weird. Um, but yeah, you've got like like it's you got like Celestia and some like zebras trying to assassinate her, and it's a whole thing. Um, it's a good game for when you have like a big table and 3 minutes to work with.
I am seeing no more questions in chat. I'm going to
Yeah.
give it a few more minutes, but I think I'm going to let you head off, and I
All right.
will get this change over to the next thing. Thank you for being here. I will let you do
Uh,
your send off and all that.
Thank you everyone for coming. The I've posted all my links to my stuff. Um, uh, yeah. Oh, typing. I'm gonna hang on for the typing.
Aggressive typing. There's aggressive typing.
All right. No worries at all. Thanks for being here. I will be around if people think of questions later. Um, I need to pee.
You do
I'm
that.
gonna leave on that note.